Hey everybody, Nick Nack here, back again for another video, this time for a review, and as you see right here, I'm going to be reviewing a game I recently beat, and that is the Sega Genesis RPG, Shining in the Darkness. Now, I always want to get into a Shining series, because it's one of those franchises I've heard so much about from people, and thanks to a Genesis collection I bought on Steam, I decided to pick it up this year, and oh boy, as much as I enjoyed this game, there were some things about it that made me not love it compared to others. Starting with the game's story, the story revolves around a character, let's just call him Hiro as is his default name, whose father has vanished, along with a princess thanks to the game's antagonist, which goes by the name of Dark Soul, and it's up to Hiro to go inside this labyrinth, find them, and defeat Dark Soul. Along the way, you're introduced to both people who are trapped in the labyrinth, as well as two party members you get later on, and they're just there to help Hiro. The story for me personally I found to be both bland and non-existent. Like even when the climactic scene happened involving Dark Soul, I didn't really care much of it. Heck, the same thing could be said of the characters, as I found the three playable characters to just be there. I believe most of this writing can be due to it being a dungeon crawler, and I might just be talking out of my ass, but I think dungeon crawlers are known to not have amazing stories like regular JRPGs do. Because of that assumption, the story overall can work in both ways, as if you want an amazing story in this game, it's non-existent. But if you've played dungeon crawlers and you have agreed with what I said, then the story for the most part isn't bad at all. The presentation of the game, from what I remember, was good for the most part. Like once I began the game, I knew it was going to have nice music just by that beginning song and seeing that old guy tell me that I'm on an adventure. Like from that tune, to the theme of the main castle, to the town theme, to the dungeon, each tune I thought fit the area nicely and was well done for a Genesis game. The same can be said about the sound effects, as hearing certain battle noises gave the battles more texture. In terms of graphics, one thing I did before writing this review was reading on this game, and according to Wikipedia, this game was on a tight budget, and for what it's worth, it was pretty damn good for a tight budget game. Like the amount of detail in these areas you explore look well crafted and are beautiful. Plus, the character models look fantastic for its time, which is understandable as there are around 5 to 6 non-dungeon areas you can visit, and around 9 to 10 floors of the game's dungeon that need visiting. All in all, with the supposed budget the game had, the presentation can be described as well done. It would have been nice, however, if the world was a bit more open, and because of course it felt a bit linear. Talking about gameplay, before I continue on, one thing I'd like to mention is that I played this using GameFAQs, so talking about the maze exploration part of the game will not sound as angry as I would normally be. But talking about the gameplay is just a standard first-person dungeon crawler with you going into this big labyrinth, traversing the mazes of each floor and area while fighting an array of monsters. The combat is standard turn-based stuff for the most part, which makes it easy to play. Like most RPGs, you start off buying your inventory in the first and only town in the game before traversing the area, finding certain items, and fighting random bosses and enemies up until your character's health is low, in which you go back to town and use your gold to help your character. Once you're a bit stronger and conquer certain dungeon floors, you obtain items and more party members to help you in your journey, like in standard RPG fare. And as you get more good stuff, the game becomes more difficult through the enemies' strength and quantity. As an RPG fan, I found the combat to be very fun, and the maze exploration for a cheater like me to be nicely done with the various challenges and puzzles the developers put into a game, as well as how big the mazes are. Now I've been praising the combat, and through it, you might assume I found the gameplay to be superb. Well, that's not the case because, as I stated earlier, I didn't love it as much as others, and I'll tell you the problems I had with it that made this game pretty infuriating for me. One of the first problems that made this game frustrating was its interface. In most RPGs, once you enter a town or dungeon, you just go straight there, no problem. This game, however, makes it more of a chore, as you have to press A and then choose your command, whereas to go open the door or to go inside the building. Talking to people, however, just has you go to a person and press A to talk. It's not a game breaker per se, but it's a minor annoyance. Next, I want to talk about the inventory system. This game has you play as 3 characters, and each character is only able to hold up to 8 items, and that includes their equipment. That is a huge problem, as you're going through a dungeon floor and you're unfortunately unable to heal your party because you don't have herbs to help them, as your gear is taking up space. Sure, you can use a cure spell, but that brings me to the next negative, and that's the MP system. MP is scarce among this game, and the only way to regain it is either exiting the dungeon or obtaining an item from a later enemy that replenishes it. It happens way later on in the game, however. Also, on the topic of MP, the protagonist does not even use magic, and I found that to somewhat suck. And finally, I want to talk about the 2 biggest problems of the gameplay that made this not be an amazing experience, which are the encounter rates and attack assigning. As much as I love JRPGs, if there's one thing that can make or break a game of its genre, it's its encounter rates, and this game has some of the worst that made it a bitch to go through. Like around every 2 to 4 steps, you're facing off with the enemy, and these enemies continue to become difficult as you're traversing. Like it takes around 6 to 7 hits to defeat a powerful one, maybe even more if you're not using magic. This can lead to instant game overs because, just like most dungeon crawlers, random encounter rates of difficult enemies plus a small inventory equals bullshit game overs. On top of this, it doesn't help with the next thing I want to talk about, which is the attack assigning. What I mean by this is that the enemies your characters are able to attack. Now, I've played Phantasy Star 1 after this, and it looks like they took it out from there. What I mean is by this is that attacks are assigned at random. For example, let's say there's a group of enemies consisting of 5 monsters. Yeah, believe it or not, you have to fight that amount or even more as you progress. You have the 3 characters that attack the group, and their attacks to an enemy in that group is assigned at random. So if an enemy is almost dead in the next attack and you want your current character to attack said enemy, there's a chance they won't and will attack another enemy in the group instead. You probably understand my frustration, as not focusing on one enemy can lead to groups of monsters just repeatedly attacking, fucking you over just like that. Pretty much from that ranting, you can tell I had major problems with the gameplay. But that doesn't mean it's completely shit, as I enjoyed some of the challenge. Just expect a bit of rage here and there. In conclusion, I would say my introduction to the Shining series was very love-hate, with the negatives outweighing the positives. If you're interested in wanting to play through the whole Shining series, or wanting to play a dungeon crawler with a ton of difficulty, I'd say try out. Otherwise, I'd say skip it and play something else if you don't want to play anything infuriating. I won't give it a number score because I've been extremely influenced by various reviewers and people in the community, but as an overall rating, I'd say it's just average. If you plan to get it for the Genesis physically, $20 or less seems like a good price, but that's besides the point. So that's my review for Shining in the Darkness. And yeah, as always, I want to thank you guys for watching. Take it easy, and until next video. And probably look forward to more reviews on this channel, because that's what I want to do from here on out, other than pickups videos and top 10 countdowns of the year.